Hi everybody! Welcome to another week of Makers Monday. I am Anastasia Radloff, aka Stampin' Blondie. Thank you for joining me for another week of live paper crafting. Today I'm going to show you a step-by-step how to create two projects featuring the Corner Bouquet stamp set. Now this stamp set is a free stamp set that you can earn during Celebration. If you are unfamiliar with what Celebration is, I'll tell you in just a few minutes. But if you're watching, make sure to say hi, comment, let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see where everybody is joining me each week. If you're watching this via replay on YouTube or here on Facebook, make sure to comment replay and let me know that you were able to join me this week. So we have two projects today featuring the Corner Bouquet stamp set. Now, like I mentioned, this stamp set is free that you can earn during Celebration. Now, what exactly is Celebration? It is Stampin' Up's biggest promotion that we have each year. From now until the end of February, you can choose free items out of our Celebration brochure. And this is everything from stamps to paper to stamps and paper together. Now these are exclusive items that you can't purchase outright, but for every $50 you spend prior to shipping and tax, you can choose some items out of the catalog for free. Now we've got three products from the Celebration catalog that I'm going to showcase today. Of course, the Corner Bouquet stamp set, but also Heal Your Heart and the Flower and Field Designer Series paper. All right, I hope you all have had a wonderful weekend. Today I am ending my 3-day weekend. I spent some time with my husband. We did some grocery shopping, some home improvement stuff, and then just a lot of relaxing around the house and spending some time here in the craft room. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And let me flip my camera here. Let's see, there we go. Now, each week I have a weekly prize patrol, and if you're not too familiar with what that is, if you share this video each week, you get to be entered into our prize of the week for prize patrol. Now, last week I debuted the gilded leafing. If you missed that video, you're going to want to go back and watch it because it is a great way to show you how to use this new product from the January through June mini catalog. Now, our winner for last week was Carol Schaefer. And Carol, thank you for sharing my video. So you win a full package of the new gilded leafing. So I will get you that. Now, our prize patrol for this week, I'm actually showcasing in our projects today. So the Corner Bouquet stamp set is, like I said, from Celebration, so you cannot purchase this stamp set outright by itself. And the two projects that I'll be showcasing are these here. Now, there are two different techniques that I will be using for these projects. The first one here is a heat embossing technique where we will be using blending brushes on top of white embossing powder. And this one, to give it more of a watercolor wash, we're going to be using Stampin' Write markers coloring directly onto a stamp to show you how to get this really easy watercolor look. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you're interested in registering for Prize Patrol, just share this video and comment that you shared. Sometimes Facebook doesn't let me know when everybody shares. So make sure to comment that you shared and you'll be entered to win the Corner Bouquet stamp set. So like I mentioned, the two sets that we will be focusing on today, of course, Corner Bouquet, but then also Heal Your Heart. This is a cling mount stamp set. It's traditional red rubber, just like our Corner Bouquet stamp set. And this one has some really great scripty font for those kind of hard to make projects, like Wishing I Could Heal Your Heart, We're in This Together, and Sorry for Your Loss. These sets are perfect for creating projects that may be a little more difficult for us to make, and they actually work great for our current worldly situation. So I'm focusing on these two stamp sets today, but then also the Flower and Field 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. This is also a celebration item, and you get 12 sheets of double-sided Designer Series paper and all these different designs here. So there's a lot of different colors that this Designer Series paper features. So we are going to show you how to use this paper as well. Now with Celebration, now is the best time to join the Stampin' Blondie team. I have had multiple people asking me when is the best time to join Stampin' Up, and now is the best time to do so. So in the back of our Celebration catalog, there is a flyer here. You get to choose $125 worth of product for $99 of any choice of yours. There's no requirement to teach classes, to sell additional products. You can be anywhere from a happy stamper to building your own crafting empire. Our Stampin' Blondie team is amazing. We have demonstrators located all over the country, but we are mainly focused here in Tucson as well. So as a new Stampin' Up! Demonstrator during Celebration, you get 5 additional free full packages of Designer Series paper. And these are new that nobody else has, as they're from the upcoming 2021-2022 annual catalog. So if you want more information about joining the Stampin' Blondie team, we have a great group of ladies with us. We meet together every month right now virtually, but normally we have in-person meetings as well. So if you want more information about joining the team or have any questions about it, please reach out to me. We are a no pressure team. You're not required to sell, not required to teach classes, and we would love to have you on our team. We have a great group of ladies, and they are like my little second family. I love each and every one of them. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our projects. We are gonna start with this purple and pink one here today. So for this, as a reminder, I always have a free PDF with all of the products that I am using, the item numbers and the price, so you can create these projects at your own pace at home. Now, these highlighted items on our PDF this week indicate the items that are free during Celebration. We also have the dimensions of the projects down here at the bottom, so you can follow along with me and not have to worry about, you know, writing anything down and following along with that with us. So I'm going to get out my grid paper because we are going to be doing some blending and embossing, and I just want to make sure that my workspace is covered. I'm starting off with a piece of 8.5 by 11 basic black cardstock that I've cut down to 5.5 by 8.5, and I've scored right down the middle. So we're gonna see, I got some white embossing powder on there already. That's okay, it'll just wipe right off. So next, I am using a piece of the Brights 6x6 Designer Series paper. Now this is actually found in our annual catalog, and it's kind of tucked away. It's here on page 144, and it is right here, our 6x6 Designer Series paper assortments. You get 40 sheets, 2 of each of our double-sided designs in 10 of the color families. So we have brights, neutrals, regals, and subtles to work with. They all have the same design, so if you get a brights and a neutral, you'll get the same designs, but the colors are different. So this is a great Designer Series paper starter pack if you are a new stamper and you're looking for some basic Designer Series papers. This assortment pack is perfect. So I'm using the Gorgeous Grape, and we are gonna use this like grungy side here. And I'm going to adhere that to my card base with Stampin' Seal adhesive. And we're just gonna place that right onto our card base. And this is 3 3/4 by 5 1/8. I have a piece of our basic white cardstock, and this is at 3 1/4 by 4 5/8. And what we're gonna do is we are going to heat emboss using white embossing powder for our bouquet stem. Now, if you've never worked with embossing powder, it's very simple. You just need a couple of supplies to create this really fun technique. And you don't have to have a lot of skill set to be able to create this. Even beginners are able to do this technique. So the first thing you're gonna need is a Versamark ink pad. This is a watermark stamp pad. It means that it takes just a little bit longer to dry. And this will ensure that your embossing powder gives you enough time to put that onto your set. I've got, now this is just a little package of cornstarch, and I like to rub it on my paper before embossing because it gets rid of any static electricity that is on the paper. Now with embossing powder, you want to make sure that your paper is free of static because the embossing little pieces the powder can stick to really anywhere onto your card. So because this is a larger stamp, I am turning my stamp over and I'm stamping my Versamark ink pad onto the stamp. And I'm just gonna put that right into the lower corner of my paper. I like to put my embossing powders in these little cheap containers from the local dollar store. And I like them rather than the small containers that they come in because I have more room to spoon my powder and I can easily dump it right back into the container. So I'm gonna lift my stamp, and you may not be able to see it, but it kind of has a little bit of a pink tone to it, and that's so you can see where to put your embossing powder at. I like just to use a plastic spoon and sprinkle my powder right over the stamp and make sure it's completely covered. Now, if you're wanting to know where I got that little cornstarch packet at, your local hobby store should have that, or you can make your own. It's very simple to do. All right, so this is our pre-heat embossed stamped image. Now, it's not fully set, so you could easily brush that powder off of your paper, so you just want to make sure you handle that gently. I'm going to be using the Stampin' Up! Heat tool. Now this tool is my favorite only because it has 2 different settings to it. A couple other heat guns I found only have 1 setting, but this has a low and a high. And I'm just going to put it on 2, which is high, and I'm going to move it around my paper. You don't want to keep your heat gun in the same area at the same time because this gets very hot. It is different than your normal hair dryer. It gets very, very hot. And if you keep it in the same spot for too long, it could burn your paper. So you want to give it about a 6-inch room and constantly move your heat gun around. Now, how do you know when your embossing powder is done? So it'll turn a like shiny color. Before it's just looks like powder, but when it's done, it's shiny and it's not tacky anymore. So if it's still sticky when you touch it, it's not fully set, so you just keep heat setting it until it's done. And I think we're almost done here. Just give it a little bit more for good measure, and then that's it. So it doesn't take that long to heat emboss. Yep, all dry. There we go. Now for my, let me put that there so you can see. For my blending, I am using Magenta Madness and Gorgeous Grape. So Magenta Madness is one of our newest in colors this year. And Stampin' Up! Has new blending brushes that are in our January through June mini catalog. Now, while mine are on my way, I have these blending brushes that are the exact same thing, so I can show you how these will work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with my Gorgeous Grape first, and I'm gonna do this lower left-hand corner of my project. You want to cover your workspace with using blending brushes because you will go off the paper and you don't want to get ink on your workspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blending brush into my ink pad and I'm going to swirl it in the ink pad, kind of tap it off to the side, and then starting off of the paper, I'm going to go in circles and rub my paper. Now this embossing powder will resist your ink. So you will have the purple and the magenta background, but the white of the embossed image will stay. So you can layer this as much as you want. You can go dark, you can go light, but I'm just gonna do this quick little corner here of Gorgeous Grape. Now with these blending brushes, and the same thing with the new Stampin' Up! Ones, these will be easily washed in your sink. So I like to have one brush per different color, just so I'm not blending my colors too much together. But once I'm done, I can just take this to my bathroom sink. You don't need any soap, just water, and it'll wash right out. Now some of the darker colors, like red especially, can stain the white bristles, but it won't be able to transfer onto your paper. So that is Gorgeous Grape. And now we're gonna move on to Magenta Madness. This is my favorite color that we currently have. I love hot pink, and the brighter the better. So I am loving this Magenta Madness. You can't get any brighter than this. It reminds me of like 80s Barbie and the rockers, where you've got the bright glam of 80s, and these two colors blended together work really great. Of course, with this magenta as well, you can layer and make it more and more bright. This is really good for creating sunsets. So you could start with like a Daffodil Delight and go into your yellows, your oranges with Mango Melody and Pumpkin Pie. And the more you just blend it together, the prettier it's gonna look like a sunset. All right, so there is our blended part. And I have my grid paper is laminated here, so just a quick wipe up with a baby wipe will work to get that off. If you don't have yours laminated and you're just using regular paper, it'll soak into your paper, so you don't have to worry about wiping it off or getting it on the back of your project or anything. Right. So now I'm gonna just use this is our white crinkle seam binding ribbon, and I'm gonna take a piece of it, and just enough where it's gonna overlap my card. And a quick way to adhere this is with Scotch tape. So you've got your background here with your blends, and then just a quick add of your ribbon with Scotch tape. No fancy adhesive required to put this down. Make sure it's straight. And then I'm gonna hold that down and add my Scotch tape. There we go. And now we're gonna put this down onto our card base with regular Stampin' Seal adhesive. There we go. I love the bright look of this. This would look really pretty with even some greens and yellows. Our Granny Apple Green is a nice bright neon green too. That would work. Now for my sentiment, I also heat embossed this. So we're gonna take a piece of basic black cardstock. I'm just gonna quick use some cornstarch onto that. And I am using the We're in This Together stamp from the Healing Hugs set. Now this stamp goes perfect for cards where if you want to send somebody just a little I'm thinking of you right now, this is the perfect thing to do it. Now there's a couple of different ways you could do this. You could use white ink. We have white craft ink, but that takes a little bit longer to dry. So I'm going to use just our regular Versamark ink again so that I can quickly get that bold black and white look, but we're just gonna do it with embossing powder instead of white ink. So I'm gonna sprinkle that on there, tap off my excess powder, and then heat set. Let's get that heat away from my open powder. That could be bad. Put it off to the side and just heat. Now you want to be careful with your fingers in this. You don't want them to get burnt because this, like I said, gets very hot. Now with these really thin words, this is very quick to set. Much quicker than our our previous thing. And then this is our, let me make sure, Timeless Label Punch. This is from the annual catalog. And you're just gonna punch this out straight like that. Now doing the heat embossing gives it a really striking image with the black and white together. And you can see how quick it was just to put that there. I've got Stampin' Dimensionals for the back of my design here. And we're gonna put that in the upper right-hand corner. I'm gonna use 9 inches of this ribbon, the same crinkle ribbon from the part that we tied around. And we're gonna tie a quick bow into that, and we're gonna adhere that with a glue dot. I found using this ribbon, glue dots are the best because it's quick and easy. If you were to use like liquid glue on this ribbon is very thin, so it would just seep right through the ribbon. So we're gonna tighten that up, trim off the edges. I like to use more ribbon than I think I'm going to need because then it's easier for me to hold it and tie it. And I'm just gonna take a glue dot here with my Take Your Pick tool, kind of roll it into a little ball, and that's what I'm gonna stick on the back of my ribbon and place that right onto the card. The Take Your Pick tool really helps get that exactly where you need it without having it get stuck on your fingers too much. And then the last bit here, some basic rhinestone jewels. We're just gonna use the smallest size, and we're gonna put 3 of these onto our card. Yes, the black really makes it pop with the magenta and the gorgeous grape. I really like these together. All right, so this is our first project using the Corner Bouquet stamp set that you can earn for free during Celebration right now. I hope you guys like the way this turned out. Kind of a little bit of a Technique Tuesday thrown in with a Maker's Monday here today, showing you heat embossing and blending and just a variety of different techniques. So let me know what you think about this card. I hope you guys like it. This is my favorite one that I'll be making today because of that magenta. It's very bright and colorful. All right, so our second project here today, we are going to be using that Flower and Field Designer Series paper. So let me grab my tools that we're going to need for this. We have got a piece of Granny Apple Green. That's the one that I had told you that would work really well with this popping against the black. So we have got Granny Apple Green. Now this is cut at 4 1/4 by 11. So an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock just cut straight down the middle and scored across. I've got a piece of a basic white cardstock, and this is at 3 3/4 by 5 1/8, my basic matte size. And we're just gonna adhere this with snail tape runner, or sorry, Stampin' Seal tape runner. And I put that on too soon, so we're just gonna wrap our ribbon around this. It'll still work. This is a piece of the Flower and Field Designer Series paper. This is the one that you can earn for free during Celebration. I have a piece of Granny Apple Green that I've cut with the Stitched So Sweetly dies. And this is a piece of Tonic 100 watercolor paper that I've also cut with the Stitched So Sweetly dies. So you can see how they layer on top of each other. So before I put this on, I'm going to use a piece of the silver metallic edged ribbon. Now this ribbon is the best ribbon that we have in our annual catalog. You can color this ribbon in a variety of ways to match any project that you're using. Now you can use Stampin' Blends markers, you can use Stampin' Write markers, or you can use sponge daubers, however you want to color this, but it will change, it'll take on the color of whatever you want it to be to match your project. So it is very versatile. If you're looking for that one and done ribbon from our catalog, I highly suggest this silver edge metallic ribbon. Now, same thing we did before, we're gonna use Scotch tape to adhere the back of our metallic ribbon to our project. Now, you don't have to have fancy adhesive to be able to put that on, and it's quick, easy, and you don't have to wait for anything to dry. So we've got our wrapped ribbon here, and then I'm gonna apply this to the card. I adhered the basic white piece too soon, so it'll just be wrapped around our designer series paper. It still works, still the same look. And we're gonna put that right there in the middle. Now for our stamp here, I am going to use, let me bring over the stamp set here. So for the last project, we used this really big corner bouquet piece. For this one, we're gonna use this smaller piece here, and we are going to color it with Stampin' Write markers. Now, what is the difference between Stampin' Write markers and our Stampin' Blends? You've seen me use Stampin' Blends. These are our Stampin' Blends. They come in a light and dark package together. Now, those are alcohol-based markers. I would not use Stampin' Blends to color onto my stamp. Because the alcohol has drying effects, it could eventually wear out your stamps and cause issues to them. But Stampin' Write markers are the same exact ink that are found in our ink pads. So you can color with these directly onto your stamps. And I like to use, there's a pen side and like a brush side. When I color on my stamps, I like to use the brush side because it is a lot easier to get a bigger area with your coloring. So what I'm doing is I'm using Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, and Poppy Parade. Now our Stampin' Write markers come in color family sets. So these are all in our Brights families. So you can get one package of all the Brights markers, and all of the colors that I'm featuring today here are in that one set. So I'm just going in, and I want this because it's gonna be like a watercolor look. I'm quickly coloring the leaves and flowers on here. I don't have a specific way to do it. I'm just looking at the flowers and seeing, okay, this needs to be Poppy Parade. My little dots here are Daffodil, and then Granny Apple Green is gonna come in and color the rest of the ferns here. It's very quick and easy to do this technique. And now when you're regular stamping, if you're not wanting to do the watercolor look, once you have all of your colors onto your stamp, you would huff it like, and that kind of just re-moistens the ink up, because depending on how many colors you use, your colors could dry by the time you get to stamping it. So that quick little huff onto your stamp will re-moisten the ink. But today I am going to do a watercolor technique. So I'm gonna get my paper out of the way so I don't get that wet. So I've got all my colors on here, and I've got just a water mister. You can use a water bottle, spray bottle, whatever kind of bottle you want to use. But I'm just gonna spray right onto my stamp once, just to really wetten up those colors. So I'm bringing in my watercolor paper, and I'm just gonna flip and stamp right on to my paper. Very simple technique. And you can see here, everyone, I can guarantee this is not gonna look the same as that. So every time you do this technique, it's gonna look just a little bit different than the last time you do it. Now, this is watercolor paper. Depending on how much water you put, it could take a little bit longer to dry. So I'm just gonna come in with my heat gun really quick and just quick set those colors. So there we go. And that is a quick and easy watercolor technique. If you are not the best watercolor in the world, this is an easy way to get that look. And I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal to adhere that to my Granny Apple Green part here. Now with this project, you could even leave off a sentiment if you wanted to. Because it is really pretty on its own, it it doesn't have to have a sentiment if you don't want to. Because this corner bouquet stamp set doesn't come with sentiments, you could leave it as is and just gift it and use it for birthdays, sympathy cards, whatever you wanted to do. But because it's Maker's Monday, I've got to add a sentiment. So we are going to use the sentiment from Heal Your Heart that says, sorry for your loss. Now, these are the kind of cards that I dread making. Sorry for your loss cards are just never fun because you know somebody is hurting. And even if your card could help just a little bit, it's always nice to send something homemade so they know that you're thinking of them. All right, so we're gonna get out our little cornstarch packet again and make sure all of that is off. And we're gonna come in with our Versamark ink one last time. Quick stamp on there. And this sentiment is, I'm gonna come closer so I can see. There we go. So this sentiment is very thin. So what we're gonna do is when we heat this, it's gonna take, you know, very little time to heat emboss that because it's so thin. So just come here with our white embossing powder and just cover our sentiment up. Spoon that back in. Just kind of flick off all the excess powder into your container. That's why I like these larger containers. I got this at Dollar General. So if you're wanting to know, that's from Dollar General. And then heat set. So very quick on this. You have to make sure to watch your fingers because this is one that you can burn your fingers very easily because it's a thin piece of paper. You can see it's already taking the powder, so we're gonna flip so I can get that corner and not burn my fingers. And that's it for heat embossing for this. I'm gonna use just a little bit of tape runner, not completely on both sides. Because I use dimensionals to pop this up, if I was to put tape runner all the way on both sides, it could stick that part down to the base. So I just put some right in the middle here, and this will hang off the edge for your project. And then one last touch is our basic rhinestone jewels. Now, a fun fact about these, if you do have Stampin' blends, you can change the color of these rhinestones to match your project. Unfortunately, this will not work with our Stampin' Write markers, the ones that I just used, because those will wipe right off. So it needs to be Stampin' blends to be able to change the color of your rhinestones. All right, so this is our second project today featuring the Corner Bouquet and Heal Your Heart stamp sets and also the Field and Flower Designer Series paper, all from Celebration. All right, I hope you all enjoyed another week of Maker's Monday. Make sure to share this video if you wanted to be entered to win this week's prize patrol, which is the Corner Bouquet stamp set. Now, just a heads up for next week, we will not be having a Maker's Monday on Monday because next Monday is my birthday. So I am gonna be taking some time off from Maker's Monday, but I will be joining you Tuesday of next week for Technique Tuesday. So make sure to stop by and we will do some more really fun techniques next week on Tuesday. I hope you all have a wonderful week and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.